Hello, good afternoon. It's almost 2 p.m. exact, and it's very sunny outside. Feels really good. I don't know if you can see, but it's very nice. Every time it's sunny, this is actually historically, I think, like back in the day, whenever it will be sunny, the people will say the sky is smiling, or they will say like God is smiling, whatever. I don't know. I'm just saying. So where's my phone right here? So again, I hope you're doing great. Yesterday I forgot to I did forget to I forgot to upload a video. All right, so I missed the day, which is probably at this point I missed like 3 days already, which is fine. I still have videos filmed lagging behind. All right, so I have like probably like 3 4 5 videos I'm lagging behind. So if I miss a day, that means there's a video recorded for that day. It just wasn't uploaded yet, which is good. It's a positive thing. That being said, today is March 19. Okay, we are going very fast. Every day I make a video and I mention the date, it reminds me that March was like yesterday. Okay, like March, like 19 was yesterday. 19 February, the month ago, was yesterday. So time is going really fast. Today's video is not going to be about academic. It's not going to be about the DC. It's going to be about Iranian's war. Okay, this war is going on for a long time, and it's affecting the Republican Party. Okay, but before I go too deep into that, I want to mention something here. There is a pattern that we see here. There's a pattern that is happening, right? First, in 2024, Kamala Harris, her boss Joe Biden, he dropped out of the race, right? After he dropped out, she was left with this heavy questions. Okay, what do you do different from your boss? Okay, she couldn't say bad things about her boss, right? She couldn't come up with the new ideas. Okay, she was left in a position where she didn't have anything to do, right? Even though she could have tried as a politician, she didn't do much, and I think she didn't want to lie and tell that. But now, because of that, many Republicans, they pressured her, all right? They pressured her to, admit for her party being terrible. Okay, that was her struggle, and as we all know, many people voted for the Republican leader or Republican candidate Donald Trump, and he was able to win in a huge landslide. Okay, we see this in 2024. Fast forward to 2025, 2026, right now as you speak, it's only been 2 years, all right? So even 2 years yet, it's like 1 year and a few months, 1 year and 2 months. Many Republicans have already shifted towards the Democrats. What do we see in 2024? The shift from many Democrats to Republican. Now they're doing the same thing, shifting the opposite side, going to the Democrats. Now, I haven't not seen statistics. I don't need to watch the Fox News. I don't need to watch the social media. I don't need to. I can literally just tell that the people are pissed off from Trump's actions, from tariffs to firing federal workers, giving secret access to Elon Musk. Right now, as if that's not enough, he started a war in Iran. okay? And the war is costing billions of dollars. Many lives are dead. And this war was not initiated by Iran. Previously, US have attacked other countries if somebody is initiating. So if China attacks Taiwan, US will respond. If China attacks, I don't know, like Philippines, US will respond and attack China. If North Korea attacks South Korea, US will respond. If Iran attacked, Israel, US will respond. All right. If Russia has been attacking Ukraine, US has given weapons, but US did not physically involved with the Russian war or physically fight the Russian war. They just gave help. However, and that's the reason why US has not yet attacked Russia. It's not because Russia is stronger, but because US does not have access to the Russian soil. Okay, they could attack from North Atlantic, which is why Trump wanted to build military in Greenland, is to attack Russia. But Europe refused that because Europe knows that Trump is crazy. He can start the war anytime. So Europe refused. But Trump could attack Russia, like he really could do it. Like he doesn't care. Now, as far as I know, as I speak right now, the Pentagon wants more money, or close to $200 million to fund the war in Iran. And at this point, US cannot pull back. They cannot pull out. This is not how war works, right? They don't have to quit pounding. Okay. There are two key things that happens in this type of events. Number one is the commander-in-chief, Donald Trump, and number two is the military leader, the general, his name is Hesgen. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But even in 1950s, we had another general. His name was MacArthur. He's very, very famous. He's known. MacArthur is the one who was behind bombing from Japan to invading Philippines to fighting in attacking China, attacks North Korea. Like, dude was insane until he was fired. If he didn't get fired, he could have attacked China. China now could be in the hands of the United States. He could have attacked Russia. Now Russia could be in the hands of the United States. He could have attacked Cuba. Cuba could be in the hands of the United States. He could have moved out to Africa. Like, this guy was insane, right? So if he didn't get fired, it could have been a very thorough chaos of costly wars. It's what we see right now. We see the generals behind the scene pressuring Donald Trump. We need to do it. Let's do it. Let's attack them. Let's beat them, right? Even though Iran does not have nuclear weapons, they are planning on doing it, but they don't have nuclear weapons. Over time, Middle East has not been able to make nuclear weapons. There's been speculations that they could plan to do it, but they haven't. Now, Iran has not yet initiated to negotiate, which is a big, big problem, because if they don't, with this government in power, they could start a nuclear war. And if they do, they could bombard an entire Iranian cities. Men and women will be dead, right? It hasn't reached that level yet, but you never know, right? So that being said, this war has not only affected other countries, like Europe is deciding, should we join, should we not join, what do we do, right? Then China is now thinking, like, should we help Iran? Do we step in and negotiate? What do we do? Now Iran is saying that all the oil needs to be transacted through Chinese money instead of dollars. So Chinese yen now is higher than the dollar in terms of oil transaction. All right. Trump is not happy for that. I don't think anybody in the government here is happy for that. The Pentagon, I always make videos past the Pentagon, they're not happy for that, okay? And US, when they are not happy about something, they will pull every military capabilities they can ever come up with, and they will do horrible things. So you don't be shocked if they extended this war to even to China and attacks China even if China is not involved. China needs to be very careful on this. Europe needs to be careful on this. So that being said, the war is becoming a big problem. Okay, the Iran constantly is continuing on attacking U.S. bases, attacking the neighbors, and threatening to continue fighting. Even though Iran is very weak, not only do they have a weak government, they also have people who are very much, how can I say, they're not interested in defending their country because they know the government has been in power for so long and has done little to the country. They have the country used to be rich, now it's extremely poor. The average Iranian is poor. The inflation is high. Economic is going down. The neighboring countries are very struggling. Kuwait, Afghanistan, Iraq, and I saw these countries all the time, right? Oman, UAE, Egypt, they are struggling. Then this is expanding across the globe, and the oil prices going up, right? Nobody's happy about it, and it's whether people have to, what can I say, decide, do we join United States and side with them? Because US has a point. They're saying, they took control of Baghdad's international airport. Damn. Wow. Iraq resistance, though at times very vigorous, was highly disorganized. Okay, makes sense. And over the next several days, Army and Marine Corps units staged raids into the hearts of the city. On April 9th, this is like from now until the April, so I'm going to be making the videos to see the progress of this war. On April 9th, resistance in Baghdad collapsed, and the US soldiers took control of the city. Damn it! On that same day, Basra was finally secured by British forces, which had entered the city several days earlier. In the north, however, plans to open up another major front had been frustrated when the Turkish government refused to allow mechanized armored US Army units to pass through Turkey to deploy in northern Iraq. Regardless, a regiment of American paratroopers did drop into the area, and US Special Forces soldiers joined with Kurdish Peshmerga fighters to seize the northern cities of Kirkuk on April 10th and Mosul on April 11th. Saddam's hometowns of Tikrit, the last major stronghold of the regime, fell within a little resistance on April 13. Isolated groups of regime royalties continued to fight on subsequent days, but the US president declared an end to major combat on May 1st. Wow. Iraqi leaders fled into hiding and were the object of an intense search by US forces. Saddam Hussein was captured on December 13, 2003, 1 year. Okay, Trump didn't take him on the other side, Trump didn't take him less than even days, 24 hours. He killed Ayatollah and his military groups. But this was the help from Israel. Israel had a large amount of investigations and spy within Iran. Okay, Iraqi leaders fled into hiding and were object of an intense search by US forces. Saddam Hussein was captured on December 13, 2003. 5 months after his two sons, Uday and Qusay Hussein, who were central figures in their father's brutal 24 hours rule, had been killed in a shootout with American troops after the brothers had been found hiding in a private residency. Saddam was subsequently convicted of crimes against humanity and was executed on December 30th, 2006. So he was hanged. I think this is when I remember when I was younger, my family members, I think it was my dad, when he said, yo, one of the men has been killed. I remember that time with people like men discussing outside, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know which year it was. This was 2003, and I remember, and now this makes sense. So I wasn't young, I was an adult at the time, 2003, but 2006 I was an adult, a bit older. But this is interesting, this is fascinating. Then occupations and continued warfare. I mean, I can go on for this stuff. After that, US, the foreign collapse of the Ba'athid regime, Iraq's major cities erupted into a wave of looting that was directed mostly at the government offices. I mean, it's crazy. So people say that U.S. president cannot start a war. Actually, you can start a war as a U.S. president. You just know how to declare it as a war. Okay, the Congress does not authorize the U.S. president to start a war. Okay, so all you have to do is do not say it's a war. Okay, you can just say we are helping, we are trying to do something. Okay, that is how the U.S. president is able to get away with anything. Okay, from 1970s, I believe, or 80s, when the Congress passed the law, actually it's 50s, to stop the president from initiating wars, right? This was from 50s when the U.S. was invading. After the World War II, U.S. will continue to invade Asian countries, and they were determined to destroy each and every single empire, including Russia, Soviet Union at the time. The Congress stepped in and said, you know what, no more wars until we approve it. However, since then, the U.S. has involved in so many wars, over and over and over. And how do they do it? Well, it's easy. All you have to do is attack Iran, and then if Congress asks you, you can just say, hey, we are defending Americans. We are defending people over there. We are just trying to find mass weapons of mass destructions. Okay, it's not a war. You don't have to say it's a war. You can just say we just fighting, just defending. Okay, that's how you're able to do this. How the president is able to do these things over time. So, anyways, it's a very long story. It's like 12 pages on Encyclopedia. You can read it if you want to study. Just go to Encyclopedia and then search for today's March 19th. Then you will see all this was unfolding. Okay, so very fascinating. And then Barack Obama came in 2009, replacing George Bush, and announced that the U.S. combat forces will be withdrawn from Iraq by August 31st, 2010, with the remaining troops due to pull out by the end of 2011. At this time, I was actually planning to come to the U.S., to Australia as a migrant with my family. And then, but I was still young at the time. On August 18, 2010, 2 weeks ahead of schedule, the last combat brigade withdrew from Iraq. 50,000 U.S. soldiers remained in Iraq to act as a transitioning force. Yeah, that's a lot of people who died. 4,300. But this did not stop, because even Obama went on to destroy Gaddafi, fought in the Middle East to kill Gaddafi. Also, and you see the series of this war, like you have 1996 from what's this guy's name? The president at the time, I'm forgetting his name. What's his name? Bill Clinton. So you have Bill Clinton in 1996, then you have who started the war. Not started the war, but he was also fighting. Then you have the president, George W. Bush, who also fought this war. and you only have Barack Obama, who also fought the war in this country in Libya. Then you have Donald Trump, who came in. Trump in his first term, he didn't fight any major war, but he did kill some key figures, some key politicians, including Iran. Then Donald Trump was kicked out. Joe Biden came. Joe Biden, when he came in, he killed a few leaders, but also there was a war going on between Israel and Palestine, Russia and Ukraine. Joe Biden didn't do much, but he did kill some key figures. Then you have Trump coming in right now. Trump came in and did the same thing. So it doesn't matter which political party. US is a war country and they don't have any remorse. Other than that, thanks for watching. Like always, have a good one, and I hope to see you next time. And I hope that there will be peace anytime soon, and the prices will go down in all countries. Other than that, thanks for watching. Like always, if you enjoy this stuff, please keep watching them. And like always, ciao ciao, bye bye, take care, adios, gracias, and spasiba, bye bye. They are attacking Iran because they are planning on making nuclear weapons, and if they do, no one is safe, and we don't trust them having nuclear weapons. You can't trust a government that is led by religious leaders who supports military groups to have nuclear weapons. That's the US's point of view, especially when they threaten to destroy their neighbors. Right? We have seen Iraq attacking Kuwait and invade Kuwait, and the US came in and kicked them out. Okay, so there's historical positive things about US in the Middle East, which makes people think twice on which side they support. On the other hand, Iran has so much oil, okay, which is a good thing. They have many smart people. Iranians are very smart. They are very culturally diverse, despite this government that being brutally terrible. Okay, so if Iran was to be stabilized and become a better country, it will benefit so many countries, especially Middle Eastern countries, Asian countries, from India to China, and all countries will be successful, and this will benefit all Middle Eastern countries, right? So it's a debate that people need to make, right? What do we do? And also, if Iran becomes stabilized and they have oil of supply, which they do, will have a lot of them, this will eventually release the pressure from the Western countries from relying on oil from Russia. Now they can start having oil from Iran. US, on the other hand, it's now starting to see if they can ship oil from Venezuela. If they can, by chance, if they can get oil from Venezuela and then get oil from our country, and then supply oil to other countries, right? That needs oil, and then stabilize prices. That will mean that Iran has no cards. Iran will have no any ways of negotiating or keep fighting. They will have to accept to negotiations and eventually stabilize their country. So this is a very complicated situations. All right, it's very complicated situations. Now remember, there are some oppositions who are Iranians who live abroad, and they will have to return back to their country, become leaders, right? So we don't know what US is planning to do here. Okay, there's some kind of planning that US is working on. That being said, that's enough for Iran. Now, going back to a few years ago, this is like 22 years ago, right? This is 2003. On this day, on March 19, George W. Bush, okay, so let me see, maybe I can pull up this up. So on this day, The George W. Bush, the former president of the United States, he where's the what about public information here? There we go. So yes, so in 2003 the Iraq War begins. Okay, so this is a history repeating itself. George W. Bush, he was from Texas. He was a governor of Texas from 1996, I believe. Yeah. Let me see. Which I'm correct here. Yeah, he was born in July 6, 1946, so he's very young. In Connecticut, right? He became the 43rd of the U.S. president from 2001 and 2009. In his administration, there was 9/11, and 9/11 happened right in 2001, and this is before he was elected, right? Because the elections happened in November, and 9/11 happens in September. So this was before he was elected. So he's probably used the war to win the election. And then after he got elected, this is 2 years after he got elected, that's when he started the war in Iraq, and it started. It was an invasion. It's not a war. It's an invasion. A war is when people are fighting between the two groups. This was an invasion of invading Iran. Iraq. So he invaded Iraq. Then so that's what happened today, right? On this day, Iraq War. I can go on and read the whole description of Iraq War. I'm not that good when it comes to when it comes to attend, like, I don't know what to say this. I don't have like an experience of giving a very sweet media something like that. But I can read the whole description here from Wikipedia. Iraq War, also called the Second Persian Gulf War, went from 2003 to 2011. Okay, so from 2003 to 2011, this is a long war. Okay, conflict in Iraq that consisted of 2 phases. The first of this was a brief conventionally fought war in March to April 2003, in which a combined force of troops from the United States and Great Britain, with small contingents from several other countries, invaded Iraq and rapidly defeated Iraq military and paramilitary forces. Now remember, Iraq invaded Kuwait, so this is very historical. I'm not gonna go into this. I don't have time to make a good short video that I can explain everything in summary. But this time, this is recently, right? My sister, she's 21 years old, born in 2004. Okay, 2004, yes. So she's 21. So this is somebody who's like 23 years old right now, 24 years old. Okay, I'm getting the news right now. They immediately defeated Iraq paramilitary, and it was followed by a long second phase in which a U.S.-led occupation of Iraq was opposed by an insurgency. After violence began to decline in 2007, the United States gradually reduced its military presence in Iraq, formally completing its withdrawal in December 2011. American military casualties in the conflict included some 4,500 service members killed and some 32,000 others wounded. That's crazy. Where are these people? In America, if you see folks, when people say that there are more homeless people on the streets, it's because a lot of these homeless people served in the army and they came back traumatized. Their friends were killed or died. And these folks are on the streets, they're homeless because they don't know what to do. They got traumatized, they got PTSD. This was a crazy war. I mean, think about the guy who invaded, the leader of Iraq at the time when he invaded Kuwait. I mean, it's a small country, but like invading, like this seems like it was another Germany war of Hitler invading other countries, Poland, So it's crazy. It's crazy that now remember at the time Iraq president also attacked Iran. Okay, so fast forward to today, U.S. even though it killed the enemy of the Middle East who was invading Middle Eastern countries from Iraq, now U.S. is fighting in Iran, a country that could have defended at the time. So it's crazy. Iraq's invasion of Kuwait in 1990. So I just mentioned this. Okay, it's in the description here. So Iraq's invasion of Kuwait in 1990 ended in Iraq's defeat by a U.S.-led coalition in the Persian Gulf War. Okay, then the Persians are Iranians. So a lot of these guys are the same. They have the same is the Israelis, the Jews, the Islams, the Shia Muslims, the Sunni Muslims. They're all the same. They all have the same ancestor. They are all Abrahamic people. But I don't know why they fight. But again, Abraham in the Bible doesn't seem to be a guy who was consistent. So there has to be more deeper than this. From 1990 to 1991, this was a very short war. However, the Iraqi branch of the Ba'ath Party, headed by Saddam Hussein, very famous guy, managed to retain power by harshly suppressing uprisings of the country's minority Kurds and its majority Shia Arabs. Okay, to stem the exodus of Kurds from Iraq, the Allies established a safe haven in northern Iraq's predominantly Kurdish regions, and the Allied warplanes patrolled no-fly zones in northern and southern Iraq that were off-limits to Iraqi aircraft. Moreover, to restrain future Iraqi aggression, the United Nations implemented economic sanctions against Iraq in order to, among other things, hinder the progress of its most lethal arms programs, including those for the development of nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons. When George W. Bush invaded Iraq, his excuse was that there was a weapon of mass destruction, also known as WMD, weapon of mass destructions. Trump has not yet invaded Iran, which he could. He has constantly said that if they have to make a new leader, he needs to have a say in it. He needs to be the one appointing a new leader. So it's possible that U.S. might be trying to invade Iran, even though it's not a good idea. It's a big country, it's gigantic, it's hard to live in, it has a harsh climate, harsh mountains, harsh conditions. It's not exciting to be there. Like they have done in the other countries. Yes, some succeeded, some did not. Vietnam, yes, sure, it works. It didn't work in North Korea. It worked in South Korea. It works in Japan. It didn't work in the Philippines. It didn't work in Cuba. So again, this is very complicated and it costs so much money. All right. So UN inspections during the mid-1990s uncovered a variety of pre-described weapons and prohibited technology throughout Iraq. That country's continued flooding of the UN weapons ban and repeated interference with the inspections frustrated the international community, and they led US President Bill Clinton in 1998 to order the bombing of several Iraqi military installations. After the bombing, however, Iraq refused to allow inspectors to re-enter the country. And during the next several years, the economic sanctions slowly began to erode as the neighboring countries sought to reopen trade with Iraq. Fascinating, right? So this war was not actually, doesn't seem like it was part of the Bush. It was started by Bill Clinton, and even before that. Now, Bill Clinton was a Democrat. George W. Bush was a Republican. This is why in people who don't live in America, they don't understand that those two parties have the same ideology. Okay, they are not different. They may approach things differently, but the consequences are the same. Trump might try to invade. Trump might try to fight Iran, and he wants to stay in the water, in the oceans, and bomb the area, send the rockets. And the Republican Party, and the Democrats will might come in and just invade the country, just go in and take control of the army, take control of the buildings and the schools and the constitutions, draft a new constitution. You never know, right? In 2002, the new U.S. President George W. Bush argued that the vulnerability of the United States following the September 11 attacks of 2001, combined with Iraq's alleged continuing possessions and manufacture of weapons of mass destruction, which is an accusation of that was later proved erroneous or was not true. They didn't have these weapons. Similar with Iran, they don't have they don't make nuclear weapons, but they could be planning to make one. And its support for terrorist groups, which according to the Bush administration includes Al-Qaeda, the perpetrator of the September 11 attacks, made disarming Iraq a renewed priority. UN Security Council Resolution 1441, passed on November 8, 2002, demanded that Iraq readmit inspectors and that it comply with previous resolutions. Iraq appeared to comply with the resolution, but in early 2003, President George Bush and British Prime Minister Tony Blair declared that Iraq was actually continuing to hinder UN inspections and that it still retained pro-described weapons. Other world leaders such as French President Jacques Chirac and German Chancellor Gerhard Schröder, citing what they believe to be increased Iraq operation, sought to extend inspections and give Iraq more time to comply with them. However, on March 17, seeking no further UN resolutions and deeming further diplomatic efforts by the Security Council futile, Bush declared an end to diplomacy and issued an ultimatum to Saddam, giving the Iraq president 48 hours to leave Iraq. Jeez. The leaders of France, Germany, Russia, and other countries objected to this build-up toward the war. Wow. This is what happened to Trump. Before Trump attacked Iran, I was really in DC. I was attending a conference, economic conference, and then I received the news that Marco Rubio was going to go for a negotiations with Iran to calm down the situation with the nuclear weapons. That meeting didn't go well. Trump pissed off with the Iranian leaders. He's like, you know what? And Israel was like, yeah, dude, Israel was like, if you don't do it right now, you don't have any chance. Just go ahead and they attack. So they attacked. So in 2003 conflict, when Saddam refused to leave Iraq, Which, why would he leave? Bro, he's a president. US and Allied forces launched an attack on the morning of March 20th. This is tomorrow. So today is when Bush declared, and tomorrow is the war. So when the war starts. Okay. Wow. The good news is that, okay, the bad news. Good news that Bush announced this on television is. Bad news is that Trump did not announce anything. Everything that happens, it happens in a secret room with no surveillance, nothing, in his home, Mar-a-Lago. Everything he does is very secretive. Even people are quitting right now from the government, from top administrations. They are quitting because they are not being informed. It's a very small individual groups who are doing the work. Very small groups. And then it began when US aircraft dropped several precision-guided bombs on a bunker complex in which the Iraqi president was believed to be meeting with senior staff. Same thing that happens this couple weeks ago. Same thing. Dropping bombs in where Ayatollah was having a meeting with his friends. This is a problem when you're a leader for these countries. Like, you know you're gonna die. Like, you have that feeling, like the chest is pumping. If you put yourself in their shoes, the chest is pumping. You know, like they know, like they have intelligence that informs them, like, hey, US is going to attack us. They're the enemies. Why they are doing it, we don't know, but they're going to attack us. We have no choice to do that right now. We don't have any choices. We have to hide, figure out to do things, send our kids, send our families to overseas. Have phone calls, call their allies and tell them, hey, US is attacking us. Like, it's crazy, right? Because they know bombs are coming. This is the real history of the real life of wars in the real world. Okay, this was followed by a series of airstrikes directed against government and military installations. Same today, and within days, US forces had invaded Iraq from Kuwait in the south. So remember they went to Kuwait, kicked out Iraq, and after that they followed again, invading Iraq. So it was Iraq invaded Kuwait, US went to kick out Iraqis from the Kuwait. Then the army proceeded to attack Iraqis within their country. It's crazy. It's crazy. When I laugh, and I'm not saying I'm laughing, but this is the children who grow up this time, probably they are traumatized. Their neighbors are traumatized. And within days, US forces had invaded Iraq from Kuwait in the south. This is also known as US Special Forces, had previously been deployed to Kurdish-controlled areas in the north. Despite fears that Iraqi forces would engage in scorched earth policy, destroying bridges and dams and setting fire to Iraq's southern oil wells, little damage was done by retreating Iraqi forces. In fact, large numbers of Iraqi troops simply chose not to resist the advance of coalition forces. So, sounds like they gave up. In southern Iraq, the greatest resistance to US forces as they advanced northward was from irregular groups of Ba'ath Party supporters known as Saddam's Fedayeen. British forces, which had deployed around the southern city of Basra, faced similar resistance from paramilitary and irregular fighters. The Central Iraq units of the Republican Guard are heavily armed paramilitary groups connected with the ruling party were deployed to defend the capital of Baghdad. As US Army and Marine forces advanced northwestward up the Tigris Euphrates River Valley, they bypassed many popular areas where Fedayeen resistance was strongest and were slowest only on March 25th, when inclement weather and an extended supply line briefly forced them to halt their advances within 60 miles. of Baghdad. During the pause, U.S. aircraft inflicted heavy damage on Republican Guard units around the capital. U.S. forces resumed their advance within a week, and on April 4th,